what are some of your favorite treatments?
Well, everyone who comes in here gets put on a diet in one way or another. I mean, we're always going to look at what their intake is, because ultimately they have to be able to get enough nutrients to heal the body. So if their intestines don't work, then we have to make them work first so that they can get the nutrients they need. And the large majority of the problems we see are having to do with diet. So the number one bottom line foundation is, do you have a good diet? And so that's the number one treatment. And very often it's the cure. Very often. We've had cures for things like irritable bowel syndrome, inflammatory bowel diseases, and diabetes and heart disease, simply just changing diet. And so that's the majority by far. But the more fun ones are like when somebody comes in with a Bell's palsy and their face is all like this, and you put them in the hyperbaric oxygen chamber, and after 5 times in the chamber they're smiling and they're going, and you know, and they're equal on both sides. Yeah. That's fun, you know. That's it. What makes it fun for me is when people are cured. So that when we use a treatment and it works. Mm-hmm. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Earlier we were talking about diet and how that just immediately turns people off. And like you ask somebody, so how's your diet? And everybody says, good. Yeah. Talk about that.
Yeah. So everyone that comes in, I go through their whole history of what other medical problems they had, if they ever had surgery and all that stuff. And then, and one of the questions, do you smoke, do you use alcohol, and what's your diet like? And I just ask them a general, like, what's your diet like? And they always say, good. They always say that. and then I have to ask them, well, what do you mean by good? And they say, well, you know, I just eat just regular food, you know, good food. So do you ever go to McDonald's? Yeah, well, maybe once or twice a week. Do you drink sodas? You know, only a couple a day, kind of thing. I'm like, that's good? Yeah, that's not good. And I refrain from saying anything, but I do I write it down, and then we'll do some tests, and I'll say, okay, no more McDonald's, no more sodas, you know, no more restaurants. It's hard to get good food at restaurants, really healthy food.
Yeah. So tell us about your own personal diet, or what foods you eat or don't eat, and how often you eat.
Jack LaLanne, when he was in his 90s, I don't remember exactly what age, he was in his 90s, he said, I can't die, it would be bad for my image. I kind of feel that way, like when I recommend something, I feel like I have to have been there and done that, or in some way I would if I needed to, kind of thing. So, you know, I go in the hyperbaric oxygen chamber and feel that, and the diet. So I've recommended a lot of different diets, and I've tried them. You know, when I recommend a gluten-free diet, you know, I went on a gluten-free diet. You know, and dairy-free and all of that. Mm-hmm. And so my personally, I try to get as many fresh organic vegetables as possible. I eat a lot of fruit. I go to restaurants a couple of times a week, or get food from restaurants a couple of times a week. When we have our meeting here, our staff meeting, I always bring something from a restaurant. Mm-hmm. I don't usually go, but if I'm home, I'll eat. Gosh, it's hard to say. I try to eat organic, fresh, and not too much, and I fast periodically. How's that?
Yeah. So what are your favorite meals to cook at home, or have your wife cook for you?
No, my wife doesn't cook. I cook.
Oh, you cook. Okay.
Oh, I love cooking. Chicken soup, I make all the time. I love soups. So I made some lentil soup. In fact, you can have some over at my house tonight. I make a really good chicken enchiladas, all fresh with lots of cilantro. It turns out cilantro is a better chelator of mercury than even an intravenous EDTA treatment. Yeah. So I use cilantro a lot, and it's just a good way of getting heavy metals out of your body. So, and then other green vegetables. Kale. I've found kale to be wonderful. It's good in soups, it's good plain, it's good in salads, and it tastes good, and it's very good for you.
So I have a friend that's a really good hockey player that went on a vegetable diet, and he talked about how, well, tell us.
Well, I went on a restrictive diet that was primarily organic fruits and vegetables and a lot of greens. It was the Green for Life diet, basically, and it was a cleanse / detox that I was given by a chiropractic doctor, alternative, whatever you call him, but. Anyway, he said, try this for about 2 months. Well, I did it for like a year, almost.
Why?
5 months. Well, just because I felt so good.
Okay.
It amazed me. It was so inexpensive the way that I did it. A lot of friends of mine are organic growers and have garden places and whatnot, so I would just go in and clean out their rows of organic kale when they had an overabundance, and then I would blend it up in a Vitamix and extract. I felt like I was getting all the vitamins and nutrients because it was liquefied basically, and then I froze that and used that. But the long and the short is that the longer I did it, it seemed like my body odor, I had a strange, more of a natural odor that was real annoying and overbearing for me. And I didn't realize it so much when I was in it as I did when I quit doing it. I just got used to it. But I could smell my clothing even after wash. What's that about?
Oh, why? Why do you have that?
Yeah,
okay, very interesting, because what you're doing as when you change your diet, you're changing your genetics, your metabolism, you're changing how your hormones function. You're changing really a lot more than just your diet. You're changing the bacteria in your intestines. So primarily the odor comes from organic acids and bacteria. So when you change the bacteria, you change the odor, pretty much for everything. So most of the ketone bodies are made by bacteria, but your own cells, if you're not eating a lot of carbohydrates, you'll make your own ketone bodies if you're burning fat. And that's going to change the odor. It just because you have different bacteria, and that gets on your clothes and that gets on everything.
Okay.
Because of the different types of organic acids and the different bacteria that you're feeding. See, we think we are, our 10 trillion cells or 9 trillion cells is what makes up us, what we are. That with our DNA and everything, there is 10 times more bacterial DNA in your body than your own DNA. And so when you're eating, you're not feeding just you, you're feeding a lot of bacteria. And that can change over time. The flora, it's called, or the types of bacteria can change. So some will grow more depending on what you're eating, and then if you're eating something else, then others will grow more. That's why.